Graffiti art, the writings and drawings right on the wall behind me. Authentic, liberating as well as colorful, this art has become a whole movement within the Kenyan art space. Now in this episode of E-Magazine, we're going to meet a talented and well-known graffiti artist who's been in the game for quite a while now. We'll get to know the history behind graffiti art in Kenya as well as the business behind it. Well, let's not waste time and get right on that. Hi Kerosh.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So I'm so excited to be in this space today.
You're most welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to see, like, being around this work of art is such a privilege. It's so beautiful. I don't see this around Kenya a lot.
It's here.
It's here, right?
Yes.
Well, we're about to find out today.
Yeah.
No, so tell me, how has your experience as a graffiti artist been so far?
For me, I felt like it was what I needed to be, because I was doing a lot of social commentary, cartoon work, addressing issues within my society. Only that it needed an audience, and the bigger the audience, the better. So for me, public space became my canvas.
So for you, graffiti has always been a form of expression
It
in
is.
terms of, you know, what your society is going through or you as
Yes.
a person. So
For sure.
I think one thing a lot of people don't even understand is, what is graffiti art?
Graffiti is expression without the limitations of formalities.
Okay.
So whichever way you feel like you need to express, and on whatever service and to whatever audience.
Okay.
So it's just the purest of expression. So you have only yourself to hold yourself back.
Just you.
Yes.
Okay, great. So tell me about your journey into being a graffiti artist. When did that start? How did you know it's something you wanted to do?
So when I was about to clear high school, I went in a bookstore and I had gone to buy art supplies, and I stumbled upon a book called Graffiti World. So I stood on the aisle for like 3 hours, ran through the book cover to cover, and I just knew this is where I belong. Because whatever fascinated me before then was the kind of art that would be expressed well in the book that I had seen. So I started figuring out what options there are for me, because I had seen bits of it in the streets, but I had no clue of how it's done, who does it, and stuff like that. So I was told about an event where guys were doing live graffiti. So I went to the event and I met my peers and they became my mentors, and I learned from them and I'm here.
That's right. That's how you ended up here, right?
Yes.
That's amazing. So before we even get to talk about your works and you show me around, you know, some of these pieces, and just tell me about the space right here, what it's all about. I want you to just explain to me the difference between a street artist and a graffiti artist. I feel like there's a thin line there and people never really understand the difference.
Yes, I think it's just technical terms. Graffiti is mostly writing of names, so pseudonyms of street artists, written in some fancy way. Yeah, and so it kind of looks like some coded language for the people who know. Then street art is just expression on public space, and it's mostly artworks or telling a story or something. It is very, it's artistic. It's towards, it's more towards fine art, while graffiti is more towards calligraphy than a lot of witchcraft.
Do you do a lot of witchcraft? I like that term. So
Yes.
do you do the both?
Yes,
Would you consider yourself to be both?
Yeah, I am. I am both. Yes.
Okay, that's amazing. So when you got into, being a street artist or a graffiti artist, at the time you got into it, was it something people understood what it actually was? Was it even a form of art at that time?
Then and now, I think the parallels are still the same. Is it still understood? Is it still a form of art? Maybe not. People will understand it based on their backgrounds and based on perceptions and how they see it or what they're told about it.
Okay.
But for artists, they understand the need for expression. So for them, they consider it some holy avenue to walk through. So I think there's need for people to look into it if they need to understand it, as opposed to listening to what they've been told about it. Because again, it's also based on what they've seen a lot. So for example, nearing political elections and stuff, we see a lot of graffiti, but then that's political. So Waititu for governor, all that.
Right.
I don't consider that street art on the level where it's supposed to be, because that is more of branding and advertising.
Okay.
Because you're rallying for an ideology that is supposed to sell either a person or a party or something.
Yeah, 100%.
That's not expression. That's just advertising this person or this party.
Yeah.
But then for me, when it comes to expression, when it becomes that expression and not necessarily advertising anything, now that is art. That is graffiti. Yes.
Great. Now, Kerosh, I want to understand if you from your experience being in this, art space, do people see the value in graffiti work right now in Kenya?
Yes, and
Or should I say art in general?
yes, we see value. I see value myself.
Yes.
Because of where it's coming from within me.
Okay.
For me, I use it to heal myself and therapy and communicate my thoughts, ideas, pass on some questions that are disturbing. So for me, it's helpful on that personal level.
Yes.
Then I also find that on the projects I work on, they end up also impacting other people. So it's an extension where it helps other people. So with time, I've appreciated working with other people, with communities, and doing artworks about those communities. So on that level, it also becomes beneficial to them. It adds value to their lives.
Great. That is
Yes.
actually such a beautiful way to put it. So one thing also I want to know is, how did the history of graffiti start here in the Kenyan art space? How did this whole art begin? Because I know it's majorly, in the global space, like States, like, Europe, but how did it start in Kenya?
Very interesting question. I feel like I should write a whole thesis on this because it's something that we've done a bit of research on. There's supposed to be a documentary coming out about the street art and graffiti scene in Kenya. So apparently, before I was born, there were guys who used to paint walls and their cars, private cars, but then using brushes. So it was just them expressing themselves on those surfaces. Then I remember when growing up, I used to see a lot of signage, but very expressional. So if it was a restaurant or a hotel, you'd see a painting on the wall of like a family having dinner or something. But then it was more of art than the advertising, because they wanted to show the real expression of the feeling of having dinner in that restaurant. The same with barber stores and salons.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of the few images of people with getting their hair done, but then with time it started attracting attention of popular people, so celebrities and stuff. Then also some of the time you could see a bit of comments on the artworks. Then again, when I was growing up, matatus. That was popular, and I loved it. I loved matatus myself. So I used to ride matatus from home to school and back, and I was fascinated because it was not trying to sell me anything. It was just trying to either make me happy, because some of it was super hilarious. Or it was just making me think about whatever we considered heroes and celebrities. So it was an avenue for people just to say, here we are, this is what we think, this is what we feel. Then on the main scene where guys started doing expression on walls, on public spaces, that also started a while back, because I remember in around 90-something, I'm that old. Yes, there were blocks in different neighborhoods where you could see people express themselves on walls, and most of them were considered to be the dungeons of that neighborhood. So it was a coded language for this is where cool stuff happens. So before I was born, there was another version of graffiti. Then growing up, there's what I used to see on public walls and on matatus. Then on the now whatever
so
we
the culture
consider,
is slowly developing in time.
Yes.
And it eventually just blew up to what it is right now.
Yes.
That's amazing. Now I want us to move into just looking at the business aspect of graffiti itself. How does someone like you, as a graffiti artist, find business within your art? As much as art is about expression, you're able to just talk about your feelings, what your thoughts are. How does one make money from that in something you call that's emotional?
For me, it starts with me expressing myself, then people appreciating how I've done it.
Okay.
Like, it's not just regular type of expression. It has some element that people are attracted to. So they want to see whether I can apply that in whatever they're trying to either sell or maybe lobby about or stuff like that. So they want the technique that is used to express that whatever they want expressed in that fancy way.
Okay.
So that is what attracts them to me. Then there are projects where I've done within communities, and also there are people who then see the value that the communities get out of that, and they want to do that in other communities. So they approach me for that. Sometimes I'm called to teach, so I also teach graffiti.
That's amazing.
So there are many ways. Also, I do merchandising. So I do bags, t-shirts, hoodies, so many things.
I'm actually happy you mentioned that,
Yes.
because I was about to move on to ask you, where exactly is the market for artists in terms of, is it doing graffiti for my tattoos?
Mm-hmm.
Is it doing graffiti or just paintings in hotels, on hotels, or is it on t-shirts or clothes?
It's everywhere. Once people love whatever you do, they might want it on a t-shirt, on a matatu,
Everywhere.
in a restaurant. Yeah, so I think we've learned just to be open, because anyone might want your work and you may not necessarily know where they want it on. So just make it available when people need it. Yeah.
And have you faced any business challenges in this space? Like, what would you say is the most difficult about being in the art space?
Being an artist is interesting because
Imagine.
yes, there are times that you just want to focus on what you feel like expressing, and sometimes you don't know how long that will translate into cash. There are times where you are called upon by clients to do things that you don't feel like you really want to engage in, and you have to figure out whether it's a wise decision, or the conditions within which they want you to do whatever may not be necessarily exactly. Then art, the industry itself is interesting in terms of how the seasons shape up and pay. So sometimes it's a windfall, then for the next couple of months it's a dry season. So the discipline of managing your money. So you have to, by default, just have to have a business mind, figure out how to make all your calculations work for you. So yeah, I think most in terms of a challenge is disciplining yourself, knowing what to do, when to do, where, and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, allowing your artwork to remain pure, because that's the only way you'll get to challenge yourself to go better, harder, and at the end of the day, it's about the fulfillment you get out of it. So there's a tricky balance between balancing general life and whatever is supposed to come out of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, Kerosh, you're an artist.
Yes.
It's a fact. So when it comes to work like this, what kind of laws are there that can allow you to protect your work? Are they available in Kenya especially?
There are laws that protect you. Once your artwork is done, that by itself is a copyright. So you need to figure out how to preserve it. So it could be on photos or write-ups about it or anything. Then also, depending on who you're dealing with, we've learned over time, just from the basic conversations, to know how to engage whatever client.
Okay.
So figuring out whether you want all rights to remain yours. You want to go more advanced, there is something they call certificate of authenticity.
Okay.
You need to get that. In case of anything, you need to, for example, for contracts and stuff, you need to engage a lawyer who should help you just in case of anything. So I think over time we learn from our own mistakes and we adjust. So there are ways, yeah.
When you were getting into the art space, is this something you thought about, you had considered? Or you were just ready to go do your artwork, just showcase your work, and you hadn't thought about that legal side of it yet?
I expected challenges, of which some would probably be legal.
Yeah.
But then I think for every client, as I engage, I know, I think, and I've learned that over time, I know what approach to take with every client. So I knew there would be those kind of challenges. I knew I needed to strap myself with lawyers and stuff, or knowledge, just basic knowledge in terms of how to engage with whom and on what level. So yeah, I expected a bit of that, so I kind of prepared for it.
Okay.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Where do you see graffiti art going in Kenya? Does it have a big future to a point where it's just going to be like, the States, where it is, it's a market that makes millions of dollars? Like an artist like you can sell your art piece for a lot of money. Do you think it's going to get into that space at some point?
It is there.
Really?
Yes, it's supposed to be overtaking the West. Anyway, I think we are very unique based on placement and based on our identity, cultural and heritage. So the content that we are putting out is content that people want, because it's different and it has very rich stories. So should be very interesting to see where it goes.
Is this something you're planning to do forever? I mean, it's a talent, right?
Yes, I'll do it till I can't do it anymore, but still I also do other things, and at the same time, even when probably I'll be kind of old to climb huge ladders, I'll be somewhere doing either directing or something, or teaching or whatever, so should be long term.
Great. Now my last question for you today, Kerosh, is this space we're in now, the Railways Museum right now, are there a lot of spaces like this for artists where Kenyan artists can come and just be able to be an artist in here?
Yes and no. Yes, there are art spaces. They are a bit different from this one, based on how they are run. And no, because this one is kind of special.
This is special?
Yeah.
How? Why is this one special?
Because I'm here. No, yeah, but there's much more space.
As compared to the rest?
Yes, and also how things are run here, it's manageable. It's a good environment for the artists, and hopefully it is supposed to remain like that, so that it remains special.
Okay, another thing I just wanted to talk about is, I feel like the Kenyan art space has been rather suppressed lately, in the terms of we don't get to see this work out there as much. In a month you'd have barely art galleries to showcase works like this. What do you think should be done different about that? Or do you want this community to be a secret forever?
I think for people who want to see this, they should go to where it is at, and not necessarily wait
the way I came today.
Yes, not necessarily wait until
it comes to them.
Yes, but again, also we're also doing our bit. We are spreading wings all over, and in one way or another, it will still hit you. So if you don't have to wait, or you don't want to wait, visit around.
So Kerosh, thank you so much for allowing me to come to this art space and talk to you about graffiti and just art in general. It was such a pleasure being here.
Pleasure all mine.
Yes, I'm hoping that I'll be hearing more about art in Kenya. Just more about graffiti, more about artists. I hope that will change over the years.
Maybe you're the one who's supposed to be telling it.
Well,
yes.
That's why I'm here today.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, there you have it. The graffiti and art space in Kenya has grown over the years to become something very popular, and as the years go by, this becomes more than just a movement in Kenya. Well, I do hope you enjoyed today's episode of E-Magazine. Make sure you tune in tomorrow same time right here on Metroport TV. For now, see you next time.